All right, good afternoon. It is 3:06 p.m. on Thursday, October 23rd, 2025, and the regular meeting of the Sandpoint Urban Forestry Commission is now called to order in council chambers at City Hall 1123 West Lake Street, Sandpoint, Idaho. Today we do not have a chair, we do not have a vice chair, so the members that are here forming a quorum, they will nominate someone to their presiding officer for the remainder of the meeting. Does anybody want to nominate anyone? Or volunteer to do it?
What's required?
I have a script for you. It'll tell you everything you need to know.
Okay, I can volunteer if nobody else wants to do that.
Okay, and there,
Okay.
I'll do my best.
Basically start here. You can just say, for the record, I am.
Yeah.
Just move Mo down to here where Chase is.
Okay. For the record, I am Paige Belfry, temporary filling in for the commission chair presiding. Also present are commissioners Preston Andrews, Jeff Gregory. In addition to the commissioners, city council liaison Kyle Schreiber and city staff liaison Eric Bush are present, along with deputy clerk Haley Key serving as our board clerk today. Vice Chair Chase Youngdahl is absent, along with Mo Stunkel today. I'd also like to introduce Jess Parker, who will be our board clerk after training. Hey. Sorry, I don't know you, but hello. I just introduced you. Thank you for joining us. First, we'll approve minutes, and at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from our August 28th, 2025 meeting. Would anyone like to present the motion?
I move that we approve the minutes from the August 28th Urban Forestry Commission meeting.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes and the minutes are approved as presented. Okay, next we'll move on to new business and I will yield the floor to Eric Bush regarding the Downtown Revitalization Phase 3 Citizen Advisory Committee.
Well, I think this meeting might be a little bit complicated with only three of us, or three commissioners here, rather. But basically, this item is included. Downtown Revitalization Phase 3 is following up on phases 1 and 2. Phase 1 was Cedar Street reconstruction. Phase 2 was First Avenue from Cedar Street to the north side of Church Street. Happened in 2020 and 2021. We are kicking off design for Phase 3 revitalization, which is from Church Street to as far south as we can get along First Avenue, Pine Street, hopefully Lake Street. It's budget dependent. We are developing, I'm the project manager for that project as well, so there's some continuity here. But we're, as a part of this project, because it is impactful on downtown businesses, folks visiting, etc., we're putting together an advisory committee for this project. Advisory committee is made up of member elected by each committee commission, ultimately appointed by the mayor. We have a member from the Downtown Business Association, Chamber of Commerce, a handful of staff, and we're going to have a representative from like a local delivery, UPS, FedEx, Cisco, something to that effect. The intent of this advisory committee is so folks can, from each respective committee commission, can report on what's going on as the project progresses to their committee commission. I will also be attending those meetings periodically, for specific items. And I'm here, so it's a little different with this group. I can, I'll obviously be providing information as well. Nonetheless, this item is intended to have a member from the Urban Forestry Commission appointed to, or elected. I don't think either of those terms are right. Vote nominated, thank you, Haley, nominated by the commission to represent the Urban Forestry Commission on the Citizen Advisory Committee. That's a mouthful. So if you have questions, I'm happy to provide more info. Basically, this is going to be similar project to phases 1 and 2, streetscape. So pedestrian areas, sidewalks, the street itself, reconstruction, some utilities, subsurface improvements, and kind of carrying forward that same style and strategy that was completed in phases 1 and 2 respectively. So if anybody would like to volunteer, and then, you know, members can vote, and I suppose you can vote on someone who's not here. They would like that, but not nonetheless.
That appropriate?
Start public agenda.
We should probably discuss if we're gonna have public comment at the beginning or end of this meeting as well.
Yeah, we could sneak in public comment right after we take care of this committee member business nomination. We could do that. We could sneak it in there.
And is it it's not probably appropriate to have public comment during the
For
meeting?
questions,
Oh,
comment.
questions during the
eventually,
meeting.
but also just a question.
I don't know if it's necessarily appropriate at this time because it hasn't come to fruition yet. We're just nominating individuals to be part of that committee at this time.
I have a question for you, Eric, about how often will this advisory group be meeting?
There's gonna be intended to be about 5 meetings. Thank you for, that's a great question. I should have said that. There's gonna be about 5 meetings, but in, I would say, approximately the next year. So it's not a huge you know, time commitment or anything like that. And there's gonna be somewhere between like 13 and 16 representatives generally on this advisory group. Some of that is staff. There's probably going to be 4 or 5 staff members and then committee, commissions, et cetera. So it's not a huge time commitment. But the intent is to, you know, make sure we're communicating, distributing information, questions, comments, all that sort of stuff. Where those meetings will be is kind of TBD. There could be merit throughout the process so that some of them occur downtown. Likely they will occur in this room for the most part. And I don't foresee that there is gonna be like asks, like homework outside of the, you know, the meetings. It's more so come grab some information, provide comment. And, you know, then at the next monthly meeting of Urban Forestry Commission, you know, and that nominee can update. And obviously, like I said, I'll be providing updates.
Okay, so it's more, the purpose is more whoever we vote will be providing information to our committee rather than our committee will be sending this person off to the group to give recommendations?
Could be
Or is
both.
it a two-way
Could be.
kind of? Okay. I'll volunteer. Unless anyone else.
I think you're the best person for it. I was gonna nominate you, but thank you.
Okay. You could do like an official
Excuse me, yes.
for this.
Should I make a motion?
Well, so Preston was about to nominate me as the Downtown Revitalization Phase 3 Committee member. I will, yes, accept the nomination, and it does require a motion. So we have a motion.
I move that Paige Belfry be the Urban Forestry Commission representative to the Downtown Revitalization Phase 3 Citizen Advisory Committee.
Okay, are there any other nominations?
None.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes and I, Paige Belfry, have been elected as Downtown Revitalization Phase 3 Committee member. So I think here is where we will slip in the public comment section.
Hold 1 second before you do that, Paige, if I
Sure.
may. We're finalizing the details on this. We haven't scheduled any meetings, anything like that yet. I've been visiting all the committees, commissions as this has been going on for the last month-ish, month and a half. I'll be in touch when we are scheduling stuff, and the mayor will be ultimately making appointments, so I'm not sure what that process will look like.
Okay. Great, thank you.
Does it have to be a city resident? Maybe this question.
The advisory group is made up of members of the committees, commissions, staff, and from our design team. Yeah. And just generally on that project, we will be having likely 2 open houses throughout the project, and those will be advertised. And then there's, of course, you can always reach out to us at City Hall. Generally, with questions, comments, etc.
So the actual project won't take place for here.
Correct. Our intention is to initiate construction about this time next year. You're welcome.
Regarding the public comment section, are there rules that we need to?
There's typically the rules of decorum, and we typically give a 3-minute time for public comment. Since it's just us here, I'm sure if you wanted to bring forward your comments, you can do that now if you'd like, or if you would like to wait until the general, comment time at the end of the meeting, you can do that as well.
I think I'd like to do it now.
Okay, I figured just in case you don't want to sit through the whole meeting.
Yeah, and I do have other things to do.
Okay.
But a lot of us who have lived here for a while and know the trees, I mean, it is really sad what's happening in this community. If you've lived here, I've lived here 46 years in Sandpoint or around Sandpoint. I'm a writer and radio producer and podcaster, so I pay attention, and environmental issues are my baby. Anyway, but it's been increasingly difficult to watch the trees that have been in this outstanding trees book decline and continue to decline, but it's because of city actions. All you have to do is look at the picture to see how much grass soil was around this particular tree and how much it started to take a turn for the worst right after this excavation, and they basically excavated down to the roots. I remember walking by going, oh my God, this is not good for the tree. I doubt any amendments were added to the tree roots. I'm a tree lover, not a tree expert. It seems to me trees need soil and water and to create the food that they do to live. This particular tree has been beloved in this community, and it's just sad to watch. I'll pass these pictures around. I'm sorry they're in black and white, but it's just to save on printing costs. One was taken across the street, one was taken right there, but you'll notice that now started with branches dying and now bark stripping off. I noticed on Saturday or yesterday, last couple of days, the bark on the other side, the other corner in Farman Park, on that maple is also stripping off. And if you look at, I love our farmers market, I support it, but it's destroying the trees in the park. And nothing has ever been done. And I don't know about I just had my Woodstock maintenance guy who has done a lot of this kind of work in city parks as far as, I was telling him about the meeting and he goes, oh, Ma, I've worked on several city parks and national parks where we've taken trails out, where we put soils in, maybe even compost. He was telling me about, said, yeah, but this was a city sidewalk and they, tripled its size, whatever reason. And I know a lot of that's probably safety and ADA amendments and so on, but the trees were not even taken into consideration. I can almost guarantee. And I know Stephen Drinkard used to be the tree person here with the city, and I don't know if he's passed, if he was alive then when that project, but I know it was one of the big projects in Sandpoint, kind of around the same time as the revitalization on First. Anyway, these trees are so beloved and it's horrible to watch what's happening. Unless somebody is hired who knows, somebody like Paige, somebody who is a certified arborist, can make recommendations. Ken Masterenko is the man who comes from Hayden and works on my wood stove and was a forester prior to his work in wood stove maintenance. He said there's even concrete block that's aerated, so that it's like pavement, but it allows air. I mean, there's lots of things I'm sure that can be done. But the city, just like the trees, we take the banner of Tree City, and we have for years. We don't deserve it anymore. I'm sorry. What's happening to the trees in this town and properties cutting down huge trees and, that kind of stuff never used to happen. And it's really sad to watch. And yes, I don't live in Sandpoint, but I live on Pine Street, just outside of Sandpoint. I do all my business in Sandpoint. And something needs to occur both at Farm and Park, or we're going to lose every tree in that park. And soon, because, the roots are all exposed, there's soil on them. What is there is compacted. And, I've talked to lots of people in town when we see each other, usually down there, and we all go, oh God, what's happening? I know people are really concerned. And this is the committee. I keep thinking I got to go to city council and speak out about it. So write an editorial in the Reader, something. But watching this absolutely gorgeous tree, pass this around, please, Preston, so people can see what that tree used to look like. And yes, it's got bank stuff there now and a parking lot, but we always, I'm a human being. I'm almost 75 years old, and it's like, yes, I want to be safe, but destroying the tree life in our town is not the way to do it. It's so important. They make what this town and why it's so beautiful, but we're losing them everywhere. And a lot of it is because of concrete and asphalt. And it's like, well, he thinks these living things. Sorry. So I'm so glad I found out about the meeting. Thank you, Paige. Because it's been bugging me every time I go down Oak Street. Honest to God, when I've seen that tree so gorgeous, and it's huge, and it half of it's dead already, and no one has attended to it. No one. And it's the city who caused it. Okay, the problems didn't start until after all that pavement went in. And it's just like, I'm sorry. I've had it with the way our trees are treated in this town. And especially because we're also proud, the city of Sandpoint, of having us be an American beautiful tree city. But when you don't deserve that, when you're killing trees in your town. So I'm so glad you had that. And again, I know I'm just one voice here today, But I know there are many people who just look at it and go, wow, you done. You have an arborist at the table, certified, two of them.
Yeah.
Hi, what's your name?
Jeff Gregory.
Hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you, Jane Fritz. And I'm sorry, I didn't identify myself. Jane Fritz, I live on well, Pine Street, just beyond the city limits.
Thanks for your comments, Jane.
Yeah, and just, you know, if you're the group that really matters and if there's this revitalization project about to happen, you know, if you're talking about going as far as maybe Lake Street, there's some big trees right there on the corner of Lake and
That's why we'll have some
First,
commission on
you
the
know,
advisory committee for that.
just, I would like to see trees given the same importance as humans right now in this town. Thank you.
And thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Jane. Thanks for taking the
Appreciate your
time to come.
And now I'm gonna go pick apples
Good.
off my tree
Good.
that Paige and her husband pruned and did a beautiful job, the best job ever. So, thank you.
Enjoy.
Good luck.
Thank you. Next, I will discuss our top priorities for the next year. It looks like I will again yield the floor to Eric Bush for a discussion.
So this item was discussed, and I'm gonna actually turn it over to you, and you don't have to say.
I was gonna say, I did not come prepared.
No, you didn't need to be prepared. But basically, I'm just gonna read a little section that was out of your packet for today's meeting. Citizen Advisory Board staff liaisons and clerks, this was a general email for each of the committees, commissions. As the final follow-up for now to the conversation between the mayor and council regarding our citizen advisory boards, there was a link included to the September 17th city council meeting. But generally, with the consensus that the mayor and council wish to receive a list of 3 to 5 initiatives that are a priority for each board in the coming year to allow our elected officials to consider those suggestions as they align with their own objectives, the comprehensive plan, the city's budget, etc. Please include this as an action or action item on your board's agenda this month. This is a question, etc. So Kyle, you're obviously city councilor. Did you have anything you wanted to add? That's all I meant by turn it over.
Oh, okay.
Since you were party to
I
that
don't have a
discussion.
presentation, but yeah, so we did, sort of, as you guys all know, we, restarted all these committees. Ours has been going for 8 months now, I think. And so we had a little bit of a check-in with the mayor and said, hey, what's working, what isn't? And one of the recurring themes was, we want a little bit more focus on, you know, a couple of issues. And I think this commission in particular has been pretty good about that. We've been working on the arboricultural manual and the heritage tree ordinance. So those comments don't necessarily reflect on this commission specifically, but the ask is that each commission, at first the conversation was, let's give the commission something to work on. But the conversation turned to, these are our experts. Why don't we have them tell us what we should be working on in those realms? So as Eric mentioned, the request is give us a couple items that you guys feel are the most important. And then I'll take those back to council and we'll discuss how those fit into the rest of the city's plans, you know, and give you guys some more direction on, yeah, let's do that one first, or, you know, feedback like that. So sort of to help guide the meetings for the next year. Give you guys an idea of what we're looking for on city council and have you guys give us an idea of, in terms of urban forestry, what are the biggest items that we need to address and how, and in what order.
So with that said, and I think this request from counselors to committees, commissions, may be a little bit more generalized, meaning, you know, our ordinance and what this urban forestry commission is tasked with is outlined in city code. That was part of what we discussed, and I've got it in front of me. I can read it or pull it up on the screen if we want to. But we have our tasks, and part of it was, the arboriculture manual update, Arbor Day celebration, updating the outstanding trees of Sandpoint manual, particularly, if and how it relates to heritage trees, which has been an ongoing discussion. With that said, if there's additional items that members would like to bring forward, now's the time.
Could we take a quick peek? You said you have it right in front of you,
Yep.
the initial outline of items that we were tasked with as committee. I think that'd be a good refresher.
Yep, give me a sec. I gotta get on the Zoom section. As I'm getting this pulled up. That tree that she was referencing is.
Is that the same parcel as the food court?
It is. It's the northwest corner.
Right by the ATM there.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if there was like somehow any parcel that was separate from that food court. It's all one, I assume.
That might not be true. That parking lot might be owned by the bank. I'd have to look.
Okay.
Um, You know,
Where Monarch Coffee was.
yeah, just a little ways up. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on with that tree. I have looked at it. That trunk looks like. It looked like it was hit.
The damage that I see in the canopy of that tree, in addition to the exfoliating bark, is far more significant than a physical damage. I mean, it could have also been hit by a car, but it's in severe decline. That tree will die without some intervention, and even with intervention, I don't know.
It's gonna be my question. Is there anything that can be done to save that tree at this point, or is it probably too far gone?
Well, somebody would have to be hired to do an assessment.
Okay,
It would be a pretty in-depth, we would have to go into the soils and maybe do some excavation with like an air sprayed or a water,
yeah,
So I don't know, Jane's asked me to look at the tree a number of times, and without a truly in-depth, like a professional assessment, that would take some time to dig into it.
sure.
So I don't know is the answer.
Yeah. Fair answer.
I was contacted by a arborist out of Coeur d'Alene who was representing that property owner about a month ago. Maybe a little longer. About a permit to remove it on the property owner's request, and I told them that it's on private property. We don't issue permits for trees on private property, so beyond that, I can't speak to it.
But it does sound like they have intention to remove it.
That's the impression I got by the request of a permit.
Gotcha.
So here's where something like the definition that we have created for heritage trees comes into play, because this tree is in the book of trees, that are idolized by the community that should have some protections. Even
Well,
though it's,
heritage trees and they're in the definitions, those are definitions. That does not mean protection. And private property is private property.
right,
We don't get to tell private property owners what to do or not to do.
well, it depends on what city you live in, but a lot of cities do tell private property owners.
Not in Idaho.
Well, I'm just saying across the country, this is a thing, and this may be the way it is now in Idaho, but that doesn't mean it always has to be this way. Because we may well end up losing all of our beautiful heritage trees if we continue down this road. So I do think it warrants conversation. Yes, there will be a ton of resistance in a state like Idaho. But that doesn't mean there's not a way forward somehow, I think.
It does look like that's owned by Spokane Teachers Credit Union,
That entire location.
just that parking lot, the food court actually has a separate owner.
Oh, does it?
That's good to know. Thanks,
That
Kyle.
makes sense why there's an ATM right there.
Right.
Um, yeah, and at the very least, I think I've noticed there's lots of maples of this size and maybe 8 around the neighborhood that seem to be in decline for whatever reason. And at the very least, I'd like to see a program where we make a plan for replacing that canopy. You know, if we have a tree that we pretty sure is gonna die, like what's the plan to get a new one in there? Because you know, most trees do have a lifespan, so thinking down the road and making sure that those gaps in the canopy, we have a plan for those, you know. I think you and I have talked about this in the past, because I had 2 maples in front of my house that were beyond saving, and sad they had to come down, but really missed the shade when they did. So,
And we're in a situation in town that we have trees generally, not right away specific trees, or trees that the city has jurisdiction over. Private property trees too. We have a lot of a lot of maples, 25% of our canopy in maples. And we have a lot of trees that are old, and a lot of trees that have been abused. And it's one of those things that kind of comes to a head,
mhm,
I suppose.
they're missed when they come down for sure. So, speaking to your point about what can be done about private property, alluded to this, and I haven't done any more research since previous meeting, that if we have agreement from the property owner, then there are some legal mechanisms that we can use to protect those trees. Like a conservation easement
Mhm.
is one, and that might be something that a little bit more research. If the property owner says, hey, I love this tree too, let's make it legally protected, so that in the future, if the property changes hands, there is some teeth to it, not just, well, but, yeah, I think most of the rules that we're looking at are gonna be in the right of way, because that's generally where most of the city-owned trees live. Guess that's even, see whether that's city property or if it's private property that
The
owners have given the right to use to the city.
the way code and both city code and state code defines that is right of way trees specifically are owned by the city. Onus for maintenance is the property, the adjacent property. So and that's part of why we have a tree permit, which is for planting, maintenance, or removals, that gets filed to me. I review and permits. There's a couple problems with that. One, I see trees all the time that never got a permit. And that's, we have a compliance issue, major compliance issue. Our code dictates a little bit of, here's what you can do. Realistically, and I did this, about a year ago, it cost the city money to chase that. And, we don't have the budget to do that, nor do we have the resources to do it generally. it's not something I'm happy about. It really gets me fired up. It's just the nature of where we're at right now. And that's, part of, you guys have heard me in the last, almost year, I think, harp on tree permits. And I've talked about compliance issues in the past at these meetings too. When folks reach out to me and file a permit and they say, I want to remove this tree, I go do an inspection. If the tree's dead, absolutely remove it. If the tree's not dead and they want to remove it, I have a conversation with them. What's going on? What's the deal? And most of the time I'm able to talk them out of it. And, I can deny the permit, and I do. But for the most part, it's like, well, what's going on? Can we do this? Can we do that? And, when I deny the permit, they, are not legally allowed to remove the tree. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen sometimes, but, for the most part, if you file a permit, you're following the proper process, and that will stop a tree from being removed when I deny it. But the compliance issue is the issue. We lose trees that we don't know about, and I go to look at, I happen to be in this part of town and I'm like, tree was just freshly cut. And some of them I remember, some of them I go back and I look in our tree inventory and it's like, oh, okay. And then I look at, Google Street View is a great resource for that. And sometimes you can see, yep, it was a healthy tree that was removed. Other times it's, oh, well, the tree was dead and you could see it was dead from the street view 2 years ago. In those cases, I would still prefer they file a permit because we have a process for a reason. But I also am happy if a dead tree was removed because, they become hazardous over time. So it's a challenge. And, we have our community resource officers that can kind of do some of the help with that. If something was removed illegally, we can, community resource officers work for the police department and they handle that sort of thing, code related items. But we have, I think, one community resource officer right now. So it's a question of, or not a question, a issue of resources in many cases.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head if there is like an ordinance that we can use to charge someone who removes a tree without going through the proper permit?
There is, and, from our legal, opinion, which I, asked this question before, if it's, say a tree is removed and it's a healthy, choose a species. And I notice it or someone alerts me to it and said, hey, my neighbor cut down this tree or something to that effect. The process is getting a, tree valuation, which, assigns the value. It's a, ISA process. There's forms and et cetera. It's basically a formula, which, costs the city money to do. The community, that report would then go to the community resource officers or PD generally. PD can file, I'm not sure what the proper terminology is. They can ultimately get it to the Bonner County prosecutor. And the prosecutor can choose to levy a fine on that property owner. It's not as simple as the city levies a fine.
Okay.
So that makes it, and whether the prosecutor chooses to do that, I honestly don't know. Say if a fine were levied for X amount of dollars, that funding, goes to the city general fund, much like if you get a traffic ticket and you pay the traffic ticket, that those fines go to, the city's general fund. It's not like funding that is returned to, and I'm not sure what I just know that's the process. And, to my understanding, there is no way to modify that process. So, for example, if a tree was removed illegally, a fine is levied, fine is, paid. To my knowledge, there's not any way to like have that go into a forestry fund.
So
Sure.
maybe something council could vote on
I was
revising.
gonna say that's our job in council is tailoring the code, so.
And that would be a question to ask, probably a question to ask legal.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It is a frustrating process.
Mhm.
And not necessarily that, I mean, the fining process, that process is what it is. The process of, non-compliance is extremely frustrating.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of point in putting a lot of effort forth into writing an appropriate tree code for the, tree ordinance for the city code if we don't have any way to enforce anything, that puts us in a really tricky position.
yeah, and I'm just spitballing here, and again, I would absolutely need to talk with legal before we could do anything, but it occurs to me that like with parking tickets and things like that, we don't go through the county prosecutor. The officer just issues the fine right there on the spot. So perhaps we could tailor code similar to that, where there is a guaranteed fine. And then also that the value of the tree to me seems more like a civil matter where you sue somebody because they damaged your property. Well, if we own those trees, somebody damaged city property, they owe us money for the value of the property that they damaged, right? So perhaps that's the route to go.
That would be the tree appraisal.
Right.
Which I don't know
It's like
where,
if
how
somebody hits
much,
your car,
yeah, how
they
much
have
does
to
that
pay you for the-
cost? A tree appraiser to come in and spend, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes appraising a tree and writing a paragraph. I can't imagine that's gonna be prohibitively expensive. And then if the value of the tree oftentimes could even be in the tens of thousands of dollars, if it's a big tree and somebody removes it and they shouldn't have, if that money could go into a fund for the urban forestry program, that would be hugely beneficial. We could do a lot. Very few, and it sends a message that you can't just do this to these trees.
And really agree. What I will say from don't quote me on the date, about a year and a half ago or so, I went through this exact situation. Large mature maple was removed legally. Was healthy. Property owner had filed a permit. I denied the permit. Full of the tree. They removed the tree anyways. We went through the process of getting a tree appraisal. If I recall correctly, that appraisal cost the city about $1,500. And then that was moved to PD and that whole process. And I don't get updates after that occurs. So, it goes into the legal hands. So and that not, it is not a situation that I wish to not do. I absolutely would like to do that. When we have, a $40,000 budget yearly, expending $1,500 for tree appraisals in that context is like, well, which direction do you go?
Well, it would cost far less for the city forester yourself to take a couple of courses to become educated in tree appraisal. It would cost far less than $1,500 to do that.
Yep.
And it seems to me that the person who caused the damage should ultimately be paying for the appraisal as well. I don't think the city should have to budget to
Right.
raise damaged by illegal acts, right? So
And that could be written into the
exactly,
ordinance.
yeah.
Yeah.
You have to pay the value of the tree and also the cost of us coming up with the value of the tree, right? Just like with if somebody runs into your car, if somebody backs into a Parks and Rec truck, they're gonna have to pay for the body work and the appraisal of the body. So, yeah.
Completely agreed. The process is something that would, has to be figured out.
I've got it in my notes to take a look at that, and maybe that's something that we can take up in council, because it seems like that's the appropriate venue for that.
And I will say, and maybe there's more that I don't get alerted to or don't see personally. The removal of large mature trees that the city owns is thankfully something that doesn't happen that often. It's not like we're, seeing a large mature tree removed every other week or every other month for that matter, but it is something that does happen. And a mechanism would be nice. And obviously, we all know there's a difference, not that we want either, but there's a difference between a 30-inch DBH tree being removed and a tree that was planted 5 years ago. Both valuable,
Yes.
both are different.
Mhm.
And I would argue also that although we don't see a lot of removals of these big mature trees, what I see, because I'm out practicing in the city every day, I see these large mature trees damaged all the time by tree care companies, mostly. I don't think it's mostly citizens trying to do a pruning job and doing it badly. I think it's people with big aggressive tools who have been inappropriately hired to do the job. And so that, we don't need to go on about that today, but it is something that should be one of, as we're talking about priorities, we need to figure out how to put a halt to those things happening. Not
Agreed.
just big removals, but
Agreed,
the
and-
damage is way more ubiquitous.
There's some folks around town that I see and let them know when I see that. There's a lot more that I don't see. It's ones I'm running into and I pull over, or I stop, I'm walking and I look and I watch what they're doing. If they're doing it on a right of way tree, I can address it right then, or I can get the community resource officers to address it if they haven't gotten a permit. A lot of times it's happening on private trees, which is a different case entirely, but I do observe and watch. There's probably a lot more that I don't see because I'm not everywhere all the time. But if you see it, snap a photo, send it to me. If it's if they've got a logo on the side of their truck, try and get that in the photo and send it to me. So that's sounds like maybe one of the 3 to 5 tasks. As we were talking here, this is the ordinance of tasks. So each of these bullets is a task, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the first couple just because know that it's super readable. That's probably better. So first one's kind of general, foster community support for Sandpoint's urban forestry program, promoting advocacy to city council, business leaders, civic groups, and other stakeholders. Well, I'm not going to read it. You guys, that doesn't, let me zoom back out here. So those are, and there's a little more down there when we're ready, let me know and I'll scroll. I think this is a couple of these are some of the tasks that have been actively worked on. So with that said, or with that read, the one that my cursor is right on, develop, renew, and update the city's arboriculture manual is needed. Obviously, that's in progress. And part of that update, as we've discussed, we have been talking about this item in the last number of months, is exactly some of these things we spent the last 20 or so minutes talking about. And that absolutely is a section. And the arboriculture manual is referenced in city code. I'm not a lawyer, so legally, I don't know how the two fully relate outside of sections referenced. But the manual being referenced in city code and upon update would be an adopted city council document, which has weight behind it. Hence the importance. But so this was these are the tasks that are included in the ordinance. Thoughts on others?
I know you mentioned a species diversity issue. Is there a plan for moving forward to diversify?
Well, on trees that, the city, is planting, say in parks, or in, the downtown core, like we were discussing last month, that I'll touch on, in a little while and after this item. We're just diversifying the species. We're finding ones that, and part of why I brought the list, that I did in August, I guess it was, when we were discussing, the species selection for the downtown tree planting, was because those species were underrepresented. And by underrepresented is a good thing, increasing our diversity. Part of increasing the diversity in, in the context of the arboriculture manual update was, we've been discussing a prohibition on planting of maples, which helps. And some of those things are steps in the right direction. When I get, again, back to tree permits, when folks reach out to me with a tree permit for planting in the right of way, if their goal is to plant a maple or a cherry or some of our other really kind of overplanted species, they're currently on our approved street tree list, so I can't deny them. But what I do is have discussions with them and try and talk them into planting something different. And that usually works. And some folks want a maple because they want the fall red color, and that's fine, and that's perfectly allowed. Their permit will ultimately be approved. But I've had a lot of success in just having conversations with folks and, hey, did you consider this species? Or, I'll come by and let's have a conversation. Let me kind of tell you that works. But that's one or two trees at a time, which is better than nothing. But it doesn't get everything, right? So that's kind of what I've been doing within, the purview that I'm able to. But I think part of it, if I go back up here to the top couple bullets, community support, outreach meetings were appropriate, those two. Having some info developed about species diversity. And part of it is, like the Arbor Day event, when the tree commission was at the Arbor Day event this year, there was some folks asking some questions and this and that, and those are our opportunities to talk about those sorts of things. And of course, there can be additional events, there can be all sorts of stuff, but I think that's a window as well. And we all know that even though there's an invisible line between a right-of-way tree and a private property tree, you can plant as many maples as you want on private property. But if you're aware, hey, there's other species we can plant, that's only gonna help. And I think that's where a big difference would occur.
species diversity. Um, can you scroll down just a tiny bit, Eric? That line that's cut off the point. So is that identify and relate to the commission staff
Oh.
liaison? Is that, I can't see the whole.
Hold on, I was zoomed in a little more.
I thought I was remembering that one of these points, oh, there it is. Provide the city council with an analysis of urban forestry budget needs. I feel like that's an area we've been, lacking this year on that we certainly should discuss for this coming year so that when budget season comes, we have appropriate recommendations for what an urban forestry budget should look like for this size of a city and this population of a city. That would be a huge opportunity for our commission to make a suggestion.
Great. Yeah, I think that's great.
So budget season for the city, our fiscal year rolls over September 30th. So we just entered a new, fiscal year 26 budget on October 1st. So as we get into, perhaps, February, March, April of 2026, that's a good time to start those discussions for fiscal year 27. Begins October 1st of 2026. It's a little.
Yeah.
Confusing. But agreed.
I think a good starting place for that would be to even know where we're going. We have to know where we are now. So I would really like it, Eric, if you would be able to show us, where is the urban forestry budget now? How is that allocated? What is the per capita? That kind of data in a very concise way so that we can see where we're at. And then I would be happy to present what an urban forestry budget should look like for our city and then compare the two and decide what's a map for getting there.
Sure.
So could we sort of outline that you said we should start that discussion in like February or?
So internally in City Hall, particularly on the, capital project side, the other part of my job, we start talking about our budget for the upcoming fiscal year in June, July. And there's all sorts of things that are kind of considered, primarily our capital projects based on our council adopted master plans, so streets projects, water projects, wastewater projects, et cetera. But having a picture from this commission of where the commission would like to see forestry grow, having that prepared, so internally it can be, discussed. These are conversations that occur with all city leadership, so department heads, the mayor, of course, and, city council ultimately. So there's a lot of folks in the process.
Yeah, I do think February is a good timeline to start that talk because earlier is better and the more detailed the budget request, I think, the more persuasive it would be when it comes time for council to make those tough decisions about where we're gonna put taxpayer money, So if we can say this is the plan and this is exactly how we're gonna use that budget and this is why we need that much money or those types of things, I think would make for a pretty strong budget request. And so knowing that those budget hearings kind of start in July-ish, starting the discussion about where we are and where we want to be and all of that, starting in February so that a good plan is nailed down well before July is a good timeline, I think.
And as some of the other items we've discussed over a series of meetings, those aren't not something you're gonna develop in one meeting. It's something that, requires an ongoing discussion. So, maybe I'm missing one. I think I've got 2 items in my head that this discussion, 3, I suppose, items that this discussion has kind of captured. What else are we thinking?
I think that any good urban forestry program has to have several components that are all interlocking or interworking. One thing that we really have not discussed this year has been a tree planting program, but was brought up today, actually. When we are losing canopy cover, even if it's one big tree or several small trees each day, that should be captured in the tree inventory, which is a whole separate conversation. That's one of the pieces of the puzzle. So how often is that inventory being completed? And where's that data going so that we then have the information to say, what is our replanting scope? How often and when do we need to be doing this in order to at least, baseline stay stable for our canopy cover? Do we know what our percent canopy cover is now
I
for the
don't,
city?
I don't off the top of my head.
Okay,
I can generate that based on the tree inventory we do have,
okay,
which was completed, almost 10 years ago. So it's not gonna give you a super accurate picture, particularly
Yeah.
in today's terms, particularly because of, loss. And, many of which were not accounted for in the tree inventory. But let me take a step back for a second. We do have, the IRA grant that was awarded to the city in February of this year. Yes, earlier this year. And I pulled up that, budget before. Part of that budget was allocated for updating the tree inventory. So if you get the picture of, when the tree inventory was first completed, I think it was 2017, but I might be misremembering. And when it gets completed, next spring, summer, that will give you if it was 2017, that'll give you an 8-year curve of where our inventory was then and where it is today. And from there, you can keep up with it, a lot easier, but
yeah, again, it's one of those things, we just have to know where we are currently to even start to know where we need to go or should be or want to go. But yes, like I was saying, the replanting piece of it, I mean, a planting program all on its own would be a huge project for our commission to, and there was the neighborhoods, group that I don't know a ton about, but I have a friend who used to be on this committee during that time, and I'm sure she would be happy to come in and tell us how that program used to work. That might be a helpful step in thinking about how we can be planting trees again for the city. Certainly, I think something that should have come up this year. So I think we should prioritize it next year. Have to plant trees if we want to continue to have a healthy urban forest.
Yeah.
So we have to have a program to do that.
okay.
So what, you said you had a couple items so far?
I was thinking of, general, apologies, it's been a long week. I'm not 100%. So that this conversation has, been discussing, generally, compliance or lack thereof with the tree permit, primarily as it relates to, code and, whether that could be fines levied, et cetera. Tree planting, a tree planting plan generally,
Yeah.
as it relates to our overall tree canopy, and budget need.
On the diversity plan as well, diversity, which sounded like it was an educational program. Is that a consensus that, or did you have a different vision on that?
No, I was just wondering if there was anything like in place, like it's being made, but it's based to sure that that's happening.
Yeah, okay. So there's the update to the arboricultural manual, which will give you the ability to actually deny permits for trees that we don't want people planting in the right of way.
Correct.
In addition to that, we can have an educational component that sounds like you're already doing sort of grassroots, just having conversations with people, but perhaps we come up with some sort of actual educational program to say, hey, guys, this is what the problem is, this is why it's a problem, and this is what you should do about it if you're thinking about planting a tree. Here's some species that are underrepresented, and we know they'll thrive here. So so those are the tree planting and the diversity of species. I kind of feel like the stuff that's specifically identified in the ordinance, the 3 to 5 priorities was, in my mind at least, was on top of what's already detailed in the ordinance. There's the improvements to city code regarding the unpermitted right-of-way tree removal, but unless you guys feel differently, I kind of feel like that's something that lawyers should tackle rather than tree experts. I'm certainly willing to incorporate any input that you guys have. But it seems, from my point of view, that that's the next step in that would be looking at code, which is more appropriate for the city attorney's office. So I guess that just leaves us two, or did we go there?
Haley, were you tracking a fourth?
So just from everyone's conversation, I had the species diversity of trees, the analysis of the urban forestry budget, the tree planting program slash plan, and then permit compliance, fines, etc.
I think that's,
Did you have tree inventory on that list? Like, did anyone?
The inventory. Oh, yeah. So you were talking about that IRA grant. They had stopped funding that grant and then they came back and decided they were gonna fund it. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
And so when, in March-ish, we were awarded the grant in February, if I remember correctly. The dates are escaping me. We were awarded, and then, through federal funding, I received a letter like 2 weeks after we awarded that we were no longer had that funding. And then I received another letter a month or so later that we did have the funding. So it required, I was working with some folks to get the tree inventory update underway for this past summer. When I got the second letter about not having the funding, I had to pause those conversations. By the time we got the new letter, the folks that you hired to do the tree inventory were booked up. So in that month, we lost our opportunity to have our inventory updated this past year, this past summer. So, that's that will be, something we engage folks for over the winter and, get that inventory updated in the works for next summer.
But that was written into the grant. So
That is funded in the grant.
yes, we do
that's
need to
correct.
use that, at least half of that grant money, if I remember.
Yes,
For that purpose.
correct.
So that's already.
That's already-
updated
That's
inventory
great.
is already-
Financially
That is wonderful
allocated.
news. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know the grant was unfrozen, so
Yes.
that's amazing news. Who is the city? How is the city? Who's contracted for, or who was contracted for that?
Nobody was, I was in the process of, receiving quotes from folks.
Oh, so it was put out as a call for bids.
The purchasing process, purchasing requirements, I didn't have to put out for bids. I can reach out to folks and hire them directly for the cost, the expected cost for that. In the meantime, I found out through Idaho Department of Lands, the folks that I work with on the community forestry program there, that they have some resources that, not financial resources, but they have some relationships with folks who may be able to help us with our tree inventory. So that's the direction that, I intend to go.
Good news.
So is the tree inventory on the list for 2026 or No, because that's being,
It's already taken care of in my mind. I mean,
It's, yeah, we don't have a contract in place, but it's my intention to have one
Yeah.
to start for, next summer, so.
I don't know, there's a whole lot of work that you guys need to do to make that happen.
Sounds like you just need to put it out and hire the folk
Yeah.
and then they'll get going on that.
Yep.
That'll be great.
So what, we have a couple more items.
yeah, that we need to get to.
Yeah, so, feel free if there's additional items we need to address here, but we've got a couple more we need to make sure we get to as well.
We do need
A
a
motion.
motion for approving these top priorities for 2026.
Okay,
Just one question, the floriculture manual and the heritage tree designation are already, so we're not including those.
That's how I would base it, yes.
yeah,
As well as the budget. Bill is already assigned in code, so.
okay, so we
that's
just need to,
Okay,
Credit.
Okay, so just for the record, we have the species diversity of trees in Sandpoint, the tree planting program / plan and permit compliance, fines, etc. Are the three top priorities.
Yeah, the tree planting program and then the diversity of species program. Are those the same or are they?
I
Two
think that
separate
could be
things.
one program.
yeah.
I
Okay.
think it could be one program with a couple of parts, like here we talk to the public and here is how we get the trees planted and here is what we allow to be planted. And I think
Right.
it could be one
Okay.
hat. That makes sense to me.
And
A
then,
planting program,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it includes diversity.
Regarding compliance, you were saying that's better for the lawyers to deal with, which I totally agree with. However, I think it's our job to, review what the tree ordinance says.
okay,
Because that's the portion, like the lawyers don't know what's good for the trees, they just know what the ordinance says, and then they can work towards enforcing fines or whatever it is they need to do.
Okay.
I think in order to protect the trees that exist, that reviewing the city code, the actual tree ordinance and seeing what's good and seeing what is lacking, I think that that is that would be the most beneficial thing to protect the trees that exist in the city right now.
I support that. Yeah, so why don't, instead of me taking it to legal, why don't you guys take a pass through it first? Get some recommendations to me and then I'll take it to legal.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, we'll put that on the list. And then the other one was, you had mentioned, I don't know if this fully came to a station, but the idea that there are partial operations that are not using best practices.
Yes.
Does that rise to the level of one of these items, do you think? I mean, the thing that popped into my brain was a list of approved vendors. Or pre-approved vendors. I don't know if approved is the right word, recommended vendors. If we find out that a tree company isn't using the best methods, then we could remove them from that list. And obviously it wouldn't be legally binding. We can't tell people, no, you cannot hire that company, but we could say, hey, these are the companies that Sandpoint, city of Sandpoint, recommends or something like that.
So the cities can't maintain a list of recommended or non-recommended businesses.
Oh, they can't, okay, good to know.
And from the, contracting perspective, there's again, don't quote me, ask the lawyers.
Yeah,
But there's a conflict there.
sure,
What we can do is rely on, the, best practices as it relates to the arboriculture manual.
okay,
And this is the place where the tree ordinance specifically written into city code would provide protections so that, and there's a little bit in there right now in the city code, but I think it needs to be dialed in better. Right now, it's not easily, it's assignable, you did this and now you're in violation of this, and now it's enforceable this way. It needs to be dialed in a little bit better, I think. So if we write this ordinance and there are tools to show us exactly how to write a good tree ordinance that we can rely on. We don't have to recreate the wheel. Then that would be the protections for companies that are not using best management practices. Because then they get fines.
Right.
And then they lose their ability to apply for licenses to do work on city trees. That's what happened. I think before the fines, they are not able to work on city trees at that point.
Perfect.
Okay, so is there a, list that somebody would like to make a motion on? We need to get to a
Yeah.
couple of other items.
Yeah.
I think we kind of have it.
Okay, so the motion to approve the top priorities from our commission regarding the top priorities for 2026, we are gonna have on the list tree planting, tree inventory, tree ordinance,
The inventory was already being taken care
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Let me start again then. So we're removing tree inventory. I had already removed the budget proposal too. So our priorities are a tree planting program, which includes species diversity considerations. Visiting the tree ordinance, which will theoretically discuss the compliance issues eventually. What am I missing?
of. That's all that I had after we covered everything.
Yeah, those are the two that I've got.
Okay, so those are our two top priorities.
And yeah. Why don't we go ahead and vote on this one and then maybe when the other two commissioners are back. This discussion.
Sure.
Does that make sense? Or does it have to be today?
I think if we can, we could bring this back one more time when we have a full forum here, if we wanted to, since they weren't here to give their inputs. If that's okay with you, I mean,
Fine with me.
we can touch on it
Yeah.
again.
When are the priorities expected to be presented to the council?
The email that I was, let me get it back up. In the packet that I was reading says. Where is it?
Election from the,
It said, sorry, Kyle,
go ahead.
this month, November or December, so.
Oh, by the end of the year.
I think if it's
Yeah.
addressed in the next meeting, be in good shape.
Great.
yeah, my recollection was that these were priorities for calendar year 26. So as long as we have them in time for, yeah,
Alright,
So do we need this motion?
yes.
Yes. Do I need to do that a little more succinctly or?
Yeah, are we adding to the motion that the other commissioners will opportunity to weigh in?
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Should we just postpone the vote or,
We can,
sorry?
we can motion to bring it back next month.
Okay,
Okay,
Let's just do that. That's the easiest and most concise way to do this.
yeah.
Is that, or is that any?
So somebody, can be the motion for that.
Motion to postpone this discussion till next.
I'll second.
It's you.
Okay. Oh, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Oh, okay.
That doesn't mean we've lost all our.
I don't
No,
think so.
No, I have everything.
Okay, we will now move forward with the discussion of
No.
rescheduling the Thursday, November 27th, 2025 meeting.
so this, that meeting, let me pull up my calendar.
It's on
That
Thanksgiving.
meeting.
Oh, is it on Thanksgiving? Okay, I'm not gonna be here.
So, the commissioners can, choose to, reschedule the, November meeting, for likely the week before in November, or elect to cancel the November meeting.
I would ask that you don't cancel since we just postponed something to that meeting.
Does it have to be on a Thursday?
You scheduling for this.
Yeah, that's.
Absolutely.
I'm in charge of that.
Oh,
You can do that.
Problem is, it's my birthday, so
Is there really?
The week before,
yeah,
the 20th.
I don't think I want to be.
Could we push it to the week after?
That would be in December.
Oh, then is that not,
That's why I asked if.
We
it
need
could
to
be-
have one meeting a month.
okay, it has to be
if-
in the
if it
calendar.
could
Okay.
be another-
Um. just-
Is there any times that would be off the table, like days or times? There's a lot.
Of course, I could just be absent. You could do it on the 20th.
The first and third Wednesdays, no, because council
Yeah,
is typically in here.
that would be the third Wednesday.
Yeah,
Just schedule. for the
Tuesday?
20th, that's fine.
the
18th.
Tuesday, the 18th.
PZ is in here.
Okay,
What about Tuesday, the 25th?
Tuesday, the 25th, I have sustainability,
Mhm.
but that's not saying that we can't move upstairs. We do have a conference room upstairs that we can utilize as well.
I might be gone that whole week, but you guys can obviously meet without me.
Thanksgiving week is usually pretty chaotic for
It
everybody.
is,
but
it is a
maybe
tough week to.
Just the
try
week
to
before
schedule.
is a better
You should
choice.
just go for the 20th. Side.
I mean,
You
this,
said Wednesdays are off the table, but not for the room upstairs.
So if we wanted to do the room upstairs, looks like on Wednesday, November 19th, there is a meeting up there until 3 o'clock.
That's your birthday? Are you kidding?
No.
Okay.
We can also,
Wow, 19th, 20th?
if it works for schedules, we could also do a Friday.
yeah, I'm available
Great, November's.
on Friday, the 21st.
It's my birthday.
Great, yeah, that would be amazing.
Friday, the 21st would work. If it works for everyone, my request would be that that meeting be in the morning. On the
I would
21st.
request it in the morning too, actually. Friday.
It looks like both of my rooms are free and wide on the 21st.
I've
we
got
do
a
it-
board meeting at 9 o'clock. Any plan? I love you.
11 to 12:30.
That was
And
21st.
do we want to have it here in chambers?
See why not,
Okay.
Sure.
unless there's a reason otherwise.
1, 2.
And we need a motion for this.
Morning after my birthday, I'm kind of peaceful morning.
That on your birthday.
Yeah, not on my birthday, but
Okay,
maybe
I
Friday.
will make a motion that we reschedule our meeting to Friday, November 21st from 11 to 12:30.
Second that.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes and the motion has been approved as presented. Moving on to old business, we don't really have time to continue our discussion regarding the definition of historical trees in Sandpoint. This is marked as an action item, though. Do we need to take action on this today as it is 4:29?
My recollection from August meeting was that, commission, voted to make this an old business item. So that each member was here and had, an opportunity to, weigh in. With 2 members absent, I'll leave that up to the commission. Basically, we had, just to give a quick summary, I attended the, Arts, Culture and Historic Preservation meeting, I think in early August, and, they voted on a definition for historical trees. I think generally the commission liked the definition, the Urban Forestry Commission liked that definition, but with being short two members today, we may want to make this a item that is discussed in November.
So this was separate from the definition that we came up with on our committee. You're saying the other committee came up with their own?
Nope.
No, we took the one that you guys came up with to Arts and Historical Press. And the reason for that was because one of them was one of the 5 categories.
Just the
was
historical. Just the historical.
Yeah.
Oh, and they liked it.
Yeah.
They
And they
did. I
heard it.
believe they removed 2 words from that definition. But they liked that definition.
Well, if the whole point was to have all commission members here, then we should probably wait. Even if it is just 2 words, if that was why we postponed it. I mean, I'm fine moving ahead, but what do you all think? Okay. Do we need a motion to postpone what is supposed to be an action item? Then I will make a motion to postpone this action item until our next meeting, and hopefully we will have all members present for that meeting. Does anyone second? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion passes and the motion has been approved as presented. Okay, the final item on the agenda is an opportunity for general announcements and comments from the commissioners and staff.
I've got 2 quick items that I'm just gonna breeze through, and then commissioners can bring anything up and then we can adjourn. In August, I think August, maybe it was July, recently anyways, the commission discussed and voted on trees to be planted downtown along First Avenue and Cedar to replace some of the dead trees that were removed. So update, 17 trees were planted. Of those 17, 7 were London plane trees. 1 was Village Green Zelkova, 2 European Beech, 2 tricolor European Beech, 2 ginkgos, one President variety, 1 Magyar, I can't pronounce that word, Magyar variety, 1 pin oak, 1 red oak, and 1 scarlet oak. So pretty awesome. One of the trees was actually donated, and it was the London plane tree donated, and it is now in the downtown parking lot.
Yeah, I noticed that when I walked by the other day that there's a London plane where we had planned putting a.
And I remembered that after the fact, and that was the tree that was donated by the nursery that was purchased. So apologies, incorrect species. We got a free tree and it's planted.
Yeah, and I actually think that it's possibly from like a public works standpoint, it's better to have a shade tree there. My thought was if you go just south to the right of way, directly south of where that tree is planted, you'll see a stump where there used to be a tree. And it occurred to me that that spot where that tree used to be might be a good spot for a larch because of the larch's more columnar shape. It's possible to be planted a little bit closer to those power lines there. So I don't want to drag us into a big discussion at this point, but something to consider for a future meeting.
It might be, we need to highlight traffic safety visibility.
Sure.
Nonetheless, that was the update. We got 17 trees planted and pretty awesome. We had to shrink our list a little bit according to what the commission voted on, just due to availability. Thankfully, we were able to get some awesome species. So I'm pretty happy about that. The other item, I'm a member of the Idaho Lands Resource Coordinating Council, makes management recommendations to the State Land Board, Idaho Department of Lands, and updates the State Forest Action Plan as it relates to traditional forestry and city forestry and municipalities. On behalf of my membership on that council, I am also a member of the state of Idaho's Emerald Ash Borer Advisory Committee, and Had a meeting with the consultant that Idaho Department of Lands hired to prepare the Emerald Ash Borer response plan for the state of Idaho on Tuesday. They're in kind of a draft format, and basically the meeting was discussing, here's the 6 or 7 chapters that should be included in the Emerald Ash Borer response plan. I can provide an additional update later on. This is, here's the 6 chapters, and the group is kind of working on what that response plan looks like. So I don't know what the response plan looks like, but it was more of a feedback type meeting. Glad to be on that. Not glad to have to deal with Emerald Ash Borer in Idaho, but it's going to be here at some point. So that's what I've got.
How close is it been trapped?
Portland, Vancouver, Washington, Seattle.
Okay, so
I think there's some on the east side in, parts of Wyoming. But as far as a radius, I'm not totally sure.
I was able to attend the ISA conference in Portland a couple weeks ago, which was awesome. There was a lot of really great stuff presented at that concert or at that conference. And the one thing I want to share with you guys was a new tool called Selectree. It's from Cal Poly University, and it's pretty amazing. We won't go through it today, but you can go to Selectree, that's SELEC tree.calpoly.edu. And they have a bunch of other tools on their website too, like excellent tree tools for anyone who's interested. But this one, for our tree planting program, we could promote the heck out of this to, just citizens in town. You can select your maximum tree height, you can select your canopy width for maximum, you can select tree shape, foliage type, leaf form, leaf arrangement. Is it utility friendly? All kinds of stuff. It's a very fun thing to play with. So, yeah, it's something they've been working on for a little while now, and they have some other really great stuff. If you go to their website, so thought I'd share that with you guys. It's very.
Does it apply to species that the Northwest?
I haven't had a chance to play with it a ton yet, but it does have this area for site conditions, so you can put in your zip code and your hardiness zone. So I do think that it's going to funnel you into more appropriate tree species for your locale,
Play around?
which is really nice. Yeah. And second, so I was on the phone with Arbor Day Foundation. I order a lot of trees from them and have been looking at a lot of their resources. And in conversations with them, it came forth that Sandpoint is not a Tree City USA right now, currently. And so I felt like I would not be doing my due diligence if I didn't bring this up to the committee and just ask if something has happened.
That was a result of the changeover last 2024 between the previous city forester and myself, and the lack of an Arbor Day event in 2024. You can't be classified as, or you can't have that status without celebrated an Arbor, having an Arbor Day celebration, excuse me, which didn't occur in 2020. So I'm in the process now of getting the info into Tree City USA. That application period is open right now to have that in place, and part of that was obviously due to our Arbor Day celebration in July this year. So in the works.
Okay.
In my recollection, maybe it wasn't reported, but I think there was one at Lakeview Park. There was a planting of a Rocky Mountain juniper. Maeve was involved in that. Let's see. I think it was organized by Cami. It was when we had the native plant sale there at Lakeview Park. But maybe it just didn't get reported to the Arbor Day Foundation.
Could have been.
Yeah.
If you have record of it. Or had something,
Somewhere here.
yeah, let me know and maybe
You can say
maybe it's
this.
something we can, reach out to them.
Right.
Part of the requirement when you're kind of filling out that information is, information on your, city forestry budget, et cetera, for the Tree City USA. That was information that I had to, work with, our finance director to just have in a format that I could submit was all. I got that earlier this week and that was the last piece, so, as soon as that's in, it's hit submit and
We'll be back on anyway. Yeah, okay.
So when will do we regain then in 26 or?
no, it would be for 25.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So it's retroactive for.
Yeah,
25.
you have to, they have an application period. It opened, I think, in the beginning of October, and I think it closes at the end of the year. So you have a window to submit that information. Part of it is, evidence that you had an Arbor Day celebration, photos, the flyer, things like that. Couple more things to add to that little webpage and
Okay, it's a big one for our city. I feel like it's very
Yeah.
important. In the future, if there's something like that going on, Eric, could you please bring it to our committee and let us know?
it wasn't a thing I even knew about because it was, the process was not, clear. So
They don't like reach out and tell us that we've lost our designation or,
I might not have been on the person that was getting the emails. I am now.
well, I mean, once you became aware, I would really love it if you could bring that info to the committee. That's all I'm asking. For future, thank you.
I did have one more comment on that. I had a member of the public bring a concern to me that we had lost our status, so I had called them back in the springtime and asked the Arbor Day Foundation specifically, and they said, no, we have you on our list. You're still Tree City. So something happened between when I called, or maybe the person that I talked to wasn't the right person to talk to, but
In any case, it sounds like
Yeah.
you've almost submitted all the things to get us back in shape, so
Yeah.
that's huge. It's good. Okay, anybody else have
I think
comments?
the only, that elm tree, I think it's an elm tree on South Boyer. It's quite dead. It looks like it could be a hazard at some point.
Yeah,
In a storm.
I talked with, not the property owner. The property owner had actually engaged a, tree company, again, out of Coeur d'Alene, oddly, for removal of that tree. And they reached out to me with respect to a tree permit, again, trees on private property. I did,
Oh, I thought it was in the parking strip.
no, it's on the backside of the sidewalk. And I did ask I did not speak to the property owner. I asked to their, company that they hired who reached out to me,
Okay.
if they were interested in, testing that tree and private property. But I was concerned about that tree, being.
Yeah, I don't think it's had any leaves on it.
It sounds like it's in the works, so, yeah.
There's one next to it. Still looks sort of okay, but
Right?
Yeah.
It would be really good for our city to know if we have Dutch elm disease in this community. And that would help us if we need to include something really specific in a tree ordinance that's like, for this specific disease, one of the things that arborists should be doing or should not be doing is pruning during a certain window of the year in order to not spread the disease. So if we find that we have it in the community, we should definitely be putting that into our tree ordinance so that tree care companies do not promote spread of this disease. Because this disease has wiped out the elm species. It's been a big deal. So I feel like if somehow our city, even though it is on private property, for the interest of all the urban forest, we have a lot of other elms in the city. We should know, even if that company's not interested, we should do it. That's our job, right? To protect the other trees.
And so they said they weren't interested in testing it themselves?
Oh, and after I think August meeting, I looked into a couple of the other resources that we discussed and ran into a bunch of dead ends as far as availability. I can ask the individual I was talking to again about it. But once I figured out which tree, he gave me the wrong address, so I was. We had some back and forth, and once I figured out it was that tree that he was talking about, I did ask him about that on the phone, but it doesn't hurt to ask him again.
I guess my question is, would that property owner be opposed to us testing it, even if they're not interested in testing it themselves? Hey, can we, I don't know, I'm not familiar with the process of testing. Is it just you need a sample of the bark or something?
You would need a tissue sample, and I don't specifically know. I have never sent one out for Dutch elm disease. We send samples to Path all the time.
Okay.
We send ours to Oregon, to their plant pathology lab, to OSU. There are other labs, so it would be worth calling the lab if we can pursue this. It does have a fee associated with it if you go out of state. Now, if we sent it to University of Idaho, they may not charge at all. I'm not sure.
Okay,
But the part of the tree that you send depends on what you're testing for.
okay.
So we would ideally want some living tissue of the tree, but for this pathogen, I'm not 100% sure. I could find out.
Well, it's a vascular disease, so it'd probably can be whole tissue.
Right, but sometimes when it's dead, when all the tissue is dead, they can't
Right.
get a conclusive result. And I don't think there's anything left alive on that tree.
No.
We might have missed, I'm not sure if we missed the window or not.
And then there's the one next to it that still is alive.
Right.
Does it look like it's possibly infected?
No, not to me,
Okay,
but that's just visually, just there's no flagging on it. They're
Right.
typically flagging.
Do you have experience with Dutch elm disease?
No.
I never.
I mean, I worked for the California Department of Ag for a summer, driving all over Northern California looking for Dutch elm disease.
Hmm.
And we did find some, and it's typically just, we look for flagging. Send that to the pathologist and they would sample.
is the procedure of taking the tissue sample very complicated?
I don't remember. It's been so long.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. They were doing it then. It may be easier now.
Because I tend to agree that I think we should pursue getting a tissue sample and getting it tested.
This might not be the right time to take this
Yeah, it's
as they go to dormants.
probably pretty easy. We can find out pretty easily, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I can find that out, and get back to you guys.
Okay. Did you get any idea of the timeline of when they want to remove that tree?
Don't know.
Okay. So
I know that that's a big tree and part of the work was, might require, some traffic control. We do have a permit process for traffic control.
okay,
And whether or not they pulled a permit or elected to go that direction. It sounded like it was something they were acting.
is there, who permits the traffic control?
It's the public works group, my group.
Yeah, if you could, pass around the information that, hey, if we get a request for a permit for this, let me know, because the day that they cut it down, I want to run out there and clip off some branches and shove them in a plastic bag. Sure, they wouldn't mind if we steal a couple branches if they're removing the tree anyway. Is there any special way that you have to dispose of the tree? If it's,
I
You
think
can't
so.
just-
I'm pretty sure that you can't just put that in it's a
like
fungal,
compost pile or something,
yeah. Yeah, it needs to be, I don't know, I was supposed to be watching a webinar on Dutch elm disease and I didn't get the chance to do it, but I believe that you have to be pretty careful about how you dispose of that material. You can't just leave it somewhere where it can affect other trees.
Yeah, it'd be great to look into that.
Is that everything? Any other comments? Okay, with no further business on the agenda, this meeting is now adjourned at 4:51 PM.